So, of course, we've got Nick Ball versus Sam Goodman for the WBA featherweight title. That's coming in a few weeks. I mean, by the time this video drops, it might be coming in a few days. But this is a really interesting fight for the featherweight division. Of course, you've got Nick Ball, who's an undefeated world champion, who has sort of been slammed for not fighting actual featherweights. His most recent opponents, his last couple opponents, and including this one, are really 122-pound fighters, are really super bantamweights. Like Sam Goodman, he started his career at 122. That's where he's had the most success. Of course, he won, I think, like Oriental and like regional titles at 122, and he's not won anything at 126 yet. Of course, this will be his first huge step up in terms of fighting someone who's, an undefeated world champion at world level. Nick Ball's a rough and ready fighter. He forces exchanges, he applies pressure, he uses his physicality, and he throws a lot of shots. We even saw in the TJ Doheny fight where TJ was giving Nick Ball some trouble. TJ was showing he was a slick veteran with a lot of experience, and he wasn't just going to roll over for Nick Ball. And Nick Ball, if he was going to win that fight, he had to really dig deep. And I say that, but TJ Doheny, he's a bit of a journeyman. He's been beat a number of times. And sort of everyone knows TJ's not really world level. But TJ looked good against Nick Ball, right? Of course, Sam Goodman fought TJ, but that was a while ago now. And I don't believe that was at 126. Again, proving my point that, TJ Doheny, again, another guy who I think largely spent his career at 122. For the most part, right? And you've got Nick Ball at 126 fighting all these 122-pound fighters who have come up. When there's a few guys at 126 right now who are interesting options. Of course, a unification fight would be, ideal, of course. But Bruce Carrington's coming up. And I think that's an interesting fight for both guys. But I'm really here to talk about Ball v Goodman. Let me not get off track. Like I said, Ball's rough and ready. He forces exchanges. He makes the fight scrappy. And Sam Goodman seems to be a bit more of a outside-ish boxer puncher. At 122, he was able to use his size a lot more. Probably not going to have that advantage at 126, particularly against a guy like Nick Ball. Well, I think Sam Goodman might be taller than Nick Ball, but he's not going to have the physicality of a Nick Ball. When Nick Ball's going to get in there, if he needs to, he's going to get in close, he's going to push you about, he's going to bully you, he's going to force those inside exchanges that are uncomfortable for both boxers, but Nick Ball's slightly more comfortable in those situations, so it's his advantage sort of thing. Like I said, Sam Goodman's a good boxer. I think he's able to put his punches together, from what I've seen, pretty well. But again, he's not fought anyone that's on this world level. And we're going to sort of find out if Nick Ball is on this world level. Because if Nick Ball loses to someone like Sam Goodman, you're like, well, was he ever that good? Because Sam Goodman's not accomplished a ton as a pro. Of course, he's fought his way into a world title shot, respect. But the names on his resume, he's not got huge names on his resume. Of course, TJ Doheny stands out. But again, that was at 122, I believe. And if it was at 126, it's really 122-pound fighters fighting each other. Because I've not got their records in front of me right now. But Sam Goodman's definitely a good boxer. But you're questioning the other fights that could have been made at featherweight. You're like, is this really the best option for Nick Ball? I don't know. But we'll find out. But my instinct wants this to be a Nick Ball win. My instinct tells me it's going to be a Nick Ball win as well because of his physicality and his power for the weight division. Of course, he's 126, so it's not going to be the same as a one-touch knockout from a heavyweight. It's different. It's not the same. But for a guy who's 126, Nick Ball's got respectable power. And Sam Goodman hasn't really shown the same sort of snap, in my opinion, at this level. But I'm going to go with Nick Ball to win this fight. I think he should win this fight. I don't think he stops him. But I could see him putting a bit of a beating on Sam Goodman. And Sam Goodman, like I said, not a bad boxer at all. But I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Do you think Sam Goodman could walk away a WBA featherweight champion after this fight? Or do you think Nick Ball retains? I'd be curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag. And I'm out. Peace.